Senator Jim Talent. Good morning, Senator. Your thoughts on yesterday?
When you normalize political violence, you get more political violence. And I was thinking back to Melissa Click in the University of Missouri almost 5 years ago. We've been ignoring this stuff, excusing it, not prosecuting it. And yesterday the president incited it, and we got it. And I just hope that everybody now begins to take it seriously. I'd like to see the president-elect at an appropriate time not only condemn violence in general, but just say, look, it's wrong no matter who does it. And nobody around the country, no chief executive, Republican or Democrat, should tolerate this or excuse it. You have to move in, arrest people according to the orderly processes of the law as soon as it happens. And if you don't, it grows. And I hope he'll do that. I think there's a chance now he will.
Now, Senator Talent, incitement is a crime, and I've avoided using it in connection with the president because under Brandenburg v. Ohio, you have to have the intent to incite imminent lawless action. Do you think the president had the intent to incite that?
Well, I don't know. I did not use it in the legal sense.
Okay.
Maybe I should have used the word encouraged or, in other words...
recklessly disregarded or negligently allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
that's... Right. The incitement language has got very specific. It's charge the building, and then you can be charged. And I see incitement being used, and I don't like it, but I do believe he was negligent.
Yeah, I mean, because look, when you get people like this, and people have been seeing this happen. I mean, every few days I look at Andy Ngo's Twitter, and he keeps track of this going on around the country. And I said it 4.5 years ago. Tom Cotton writes an op-ed. Now, we can argue about whether federal authorities should have been used in the way Tom said, but he writes an op-ed that says basically this stuff is very dangerous, and the executive authorities need to take it extremely seriously. And the people who print the op-ed are fired. Yeah. And, you remember what C.S. Lewis said, we scoff at honor, and then we're surprised to find traitors in our midst. So everybody needs to get really serious about this now.
And the rule of law is neither left nor right. If you violate it, you need to be prosecuted.
Yeah, absolutely. And people need to see that happening on a neutral basis. Okay, because if you don't,
I don't want to merge the two events, but the Antifa in Seattle, there was a murder inside the Antifa settlement in Seattle, and there was a murder inside the Capitol yesterday. I believe those murders are the responsibility of the people who set up the encampment in Antifa and the people who stormed the Capitol yesterday. Do you agree with me?
Sure. And listen, if you don't, the reason I'm not trying to do whataboutism or something like. What I'm saying is, if the responsible authorities and the influencers don't enforce standards, at least make an honest attempt to enforce standards on an equal basis. The message they're sending is the standards really don't matter. What matters is who's doing it. And when you do that, eventually, you're going to get more of it.
I agree. Now, Senator, I got to ask you about Capitol Police because you know them. You served there in both houses, both as a representative and as a senator. How were they so quickly overwhelmed? They're professionals. I've dealt with them for years.
I think it's because when you get large numbers of people intent on violence and disorder and anarchy, it is very difficult to control. This is why you want to stop it at the beginning. I mean, now, yes, there'll be an investigation, and maybe they should have been better prepared. But this gets really hard once it gets to these levels. Yes, it does. And it takes a lot to stop it. So that's why you want to stop it. That's the rule of dealing with mobs, is as soon as they cross the line, as soon as they throw the first rock at the first police car, you swoop in and arrest the people, and that stops it. If you don't do that, it tends to grow because mobs get empowered. They realize, well, they're not going to open fire on us like this was some kind of a battle. And if they did, I mean, that's Kent State, right? I mean,
yes. A quick question, Senator. People made objections yesterday, including the senator who may hold your seat, Josh Hawley. I do not object to their objecting. I would not have objected myself. I wrote that in the Post. But what they were doing is legal and legitimate and has precedent. Do you fault them for it?
Well, I wouldn't have done it because I don't think the basis was there to do it. But they were pursuing the normal processes. I don't think we should say at all
Yeah.
that they people do things, cast votes I disagree with all the time and take actions I disagree with. They were pursuing the normal processes, and they were entitled to do that. And of course, there's precedent for doing that. So that wasn't the reason this happened. Okay, this happened because if you want to say we weren't as prepared for this particular incident as we should have been, but because we have been acculturating people to the idea of it.
You just made a key point. This did not happen because of the objections being lodged by the senators and the representatives who are being blamed for it this morning. And that is not why it happened. It happened because of lawlessness. They were pursuing their legal right to object. However, improvidently, they decided to do so. Am I right, Senator?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the violence that has to be condemned, you.
Senator Jim Talon, always good